You are tuned into another episode of Cannabis and Coffee with LaTosque I, and I am sitting in the Elevations Lounge with amazing people. Amazing people. Today is March 21st, and today they are celebrating the Bud Tenders Appreciation Night, and it's a Bud Tenders Bash going on at 7 o'clock right after the podcast. So if you're in the Valley, make sure you come on out and make sure you support the Elevations Lounge. Sitting here in a lounge. If you haven't seen this space yet, look at this beautiful space. It's a cannabis lounge inside of the Clarendon Hotel. Beautiful people, beautiful vibes. And yeah, we here having a good time. And we're about to sit down with Mike Delar from House of Dank, one of the coldest and best dispensaries in the state of Michigan. So I'm super excited to sit down with this young man. I got to smoke him out right here in the lounge at the Clarendon Hotel, and that led to this interview. So if you're excited as I'm excited, go ahead and make a round of applause. There you go. I know y'all back at home making a round of applause. Mike, welcome
What's up,
to
my
the
man?
show. How are you, man?
I am fantastic. I had no idea that you were going to be doing this back at Elevations, dude. And then, I mean, that's where we met. That's where we smoked it out. Like, I love it, dude. I had no idea that's where you were doing this live from.
Yeah, man. Elevations has sponsored the podcast. So Mondays, I'm broadcasting here live at the lounge and surrounded by dope people passing out a bunch of good weed to some folks. And we smoking this place out, making it real cloudy in here. How's everything going in the state of Michigan?
Oh, man. Look, it's a beautiful day. The sun was shining. You guys are used to that down in Arizona. But, the industry is moving. It continues to grow. And, we're working hard. That's for sure. Somebody's outside my door. I don't think they realize that I'm live.
Oh, okay. It's all good. I can't really hear them, and I know I got a lot of noise going on over here in the lounge as well. So I hope you can hear me clearly. Can you hear me clearly?
I can. I think that I've got some intoxicated people outside of my office tonight. It's still after hours here, and so after hours we're having a little fun out there, and I think that people are excited to try to be part of a live show. You know how that goes, my man.
Nice. It's yes, it is. It is. And as you can tell, like I said, we got some folks here in the lounge as well who share the same sentiments. They're here to have a good time. There's a lot of plotting and planning going on around the valley and around the legal cannabis market out here. Um, can you give me an update? What's going on in Michigan? Last
For
time I
sure. I mean,
spoke
look,
with you,
the hottest
you were
thing in Michigan right now is the city of Detroit. Detroit is our largest city. 5 million people live in the greater Metro Detroit area. About 800,000 live in the city proper. And, Michigan is an adult use. It's a recreational and a medical state, as you know. But the city of Detroit is still only a medical only municipality. So none of
okay.
the stores down there are able to sell into the recreational market, a market that we believe is valued at anywhere from 6 to 8 hundred million dollars each and every year. So we are working really hard, and all of Michigan is talking about, when Detroit is going to allow for adult use sales. And the biggest struggle that they're working on, LaTosque, is social equity. Detroit is 85% African American and has been subject to some of the systemic racism that has existed throughout this country, but it's really hit Detroit really hard. So we are trying to use cannabis as a catalyst towards equity and build out the right type of program to get the proper inclusion. And look, that's hard when you look across the country at different states and cities that are addressing these, equity and equality issues in cannabis and through the cannabis industry. Nobody's really got a perfect program yet. So,
Right.
we here at House of Dank, we have 5 stores within the city of Detroit, and as one of the oldest and most authentic cannabis companies in the entire state. We're trying to lead forward on this issue with the city. So we've been doing a lot of work with city officials and different activist groups to really try to build the right program that's worthy of a city like Detroit. I mean, it means a lot to us, right?
You say you have 5 locations just within the city of Detroit's limits.
That's correct.
That's crazy.
That's correct.
That's insane.
We're a Detroit company, all right? Like that's what we're about. I mean, we are trying to export Detroit cannabis culture to the rest of the country, the rest of the state, hopefully the rest
Mhm.
of the world. world at some point. House of Dank was not formed in a conference room. House of
Okay.
Dank was formed, on the streets by guys that got their start in the Michigan caregiver market back in 2008. And it was a house that, you bought the best weed at. So then it became the House of Dank. And
I was
then
wondering where did that was one thing. One, how did the conception of your company come about? And two, how did the name come about? Because House of Dank, of course I want to visit HOD. And next
hell
time
yeah.
I'm in Michigan, that's going to be one of the first spots I stop.
Well, you better call me up, man. We'll set you up for sure. But no, that's what makes us unique, I think, is how organic we are. Our guys, we didn't start a cannabis business. We were in cannabis and it became a business. And you can really see the difference. I think that, even being out in Arizona and when you look at different states, Michigan is rare that there are still some of those original operators, those
Yeah.
OGs from the caregiver market and that gray market, if you will, that have been able to transition over. When you look across a lot of states, Arizona being, one example, it's a lot more corporate. The weed's not as good. It's just not as cool. So it's a different vibe up here in
Yeah.
Michigan because we have that. So we're really trying to branch out. But yeah, we have 5 in the city. We have 12 facilities statewide. We anticipate opening another 5 more this year. So we are, as you can tell, it's certainly nonstop.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
That's some growth right there, man. That's some growth. So, about how long ago did you and your partners come up with the whole idea of bringing House of Dank to the market?
Again, it started really organically. In 2008, Michigan first became a legal marijuana state.
Okay.
And we fashioned it on what was the then existing California medical model, where you would have caregivers and patients and caregivers and patients. So we were on the caregiver side, growing weeds, setting up rooms, acting in compliance with those laws. But at the time, similar to California, it got really weird as to whether you could open a store, right? So what looked like a trap house slowly over time became a store, and then it had a sign, and that sign was House of Dank, and it really was again. It just kind of came to the guys one night as they were sitting around smoking. They're in the house, and people are coming in and out. You know how it goes, man. I mean, old school, not dispensary style.
Yeah.
And it came born out of that environment. And that was a house. Now, since that time, again, now we're up to all these different facilities. We've renovated our original location multiple times. It is
So
still
the
iconic.
original location looks like a house.
No, not anymore. It was a house, straight
It
up was
was
a
a
house.
house.
Now,
Damn.
it's right on 8 Mile, one of Detroit's probably most iconic streets.
Okay.
And we anchor Marijuana Mile on 8 Mile in Detroit, and have been one of the original entrants. And I think the thing that we are most proud of is that of all of those men and women that were there from the start, we're the only ones left that are still growing, same ownership group, still moving. So that's something that we're really proud of. No hedge fund money, no
Yeah.
corporate money. We're still out here grinding, man, every day.
That takes a lot. And like you just said, no corporate money, no hedge fund groups. So my question is, how did you raise funding for your venture? How were you all able to do that and then put that towards your company?
Discipline and hustle. No more, no less at the end of the day. It's taking all that money that you get from the first store and immediately looking for a second. It's constantly reinvesting in yourself
Hmm.
before you invest in houses and cars and watches and all that stuff, the trappings of a cash business, particularly when we look, 10, 12 years ago, when you
Yeah.
talk about the caregiver marketplace. So that's really, to me, what it comes down to is when you have that early success and you think you're onto something, you have to keep doubling down on yourself, and not just in additional locations, but it's in bringing in more people and building a larger tent so that you have the talent and the bandwidth to grow and
Hmm.
handle this. I mean, let's not forget, marijuana is the most regulated industry in America. All right. I mean, it makes, you can run a nuclear plant and probably have less compliance issues than, a marijuana grow or a marijuana store, certainly in
Exactly.
Michigan. And it's likely that like that in Arizona too. So um,
Yeah, it's
that's
pretty
for me
pretty
the biggest
regulated
effort.
out
You got to
here.
double down on growth with stores, and you've got to double down on getting the key people in place because this is human capital is as important as anything.
So, with that being said, you mentioned the word success a couple times in there. My question is, how do you build a successful customer base within this market? A lot of people think that owning a dispensary is like super easy, and then you're able to put up a sign weed here and doors are just gonna come flying off. Weed's gonna fly off the shelves and everything, but it's not quite like that. I've seen dispensaries tank. I've seen so many businesses come and go, and one thing um, that a lot of them do, a lot of the successful ones that I've noticed are the ones that invest properly, like you said, and stay persistent. But what do you do to build a successful customer base out of Michigan?
Market and promote every day, every way, market and promote, and that this is the shitty part about cannabis right now. And we gotta be real, right? It's not sexy anymore. Okay. Like this is an industry and it's maturing rapidly. And you have to start kind of really thinking of it that way. That again, 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, you could just put a weed store in an industrial area that has no traffic that normally rides by, and you'd be great, right? Like you'd be killing it, making money like it's nobody's business. But that's not the way that it is anymore. So I think that the number one thing is you have to market and promote. But then you have to ask the second question is what are you marketing and promoting? What are you bringing that's different? Like is it a customer experience? Are you bringing a particular strain? Are you trying to bring a whole different way of shopping? I mean, I think MedMen is a great example. I mean, they changed the game as to how people view the retail stores.
Mhm.
Forget the everything that happened after that. That's more of a soap opera. But when we think about what they did different, what they brought unique, you have to do that now in cannabis. Unless you're in these highly limited states, Ohio being a great example, where there's so few licenses and so few growers that there's not even any incentive to innovate, to make better products, to have better prices.
The people
That's
are
what the
stuck with
game
what they are
really
stuck
comes
with.
down to. You know what I mean? You got to market and promote. You got to innovate. What are you doing different? To your customers. To make them want to come in. Those are the two things that we have really tried to focus on. Certainly the marketing and promoting, and then insofar as innovation goes, we try to be first to market with um, branding and with unique products in the marketplace. We were one of the first hand rolled infused joint makers in the entire state of Michigan. And, now we've rolled that out to over 300 stores under our North Coast brand. So
Wow.
these are the sorts of things that, you've got to see the market execute and then move forward. But I keep saying it because it's so important, market and promote. And that's hard sometimes when you're dying, right?
Yeah.
You got your
And
store,
in
it's
addition,
not
when
going.
you have those limitations on what you can and how you can market.
Of course, but you got to be creative and get around them, and you've got to find eyeballs. I know here in Michigan, obviously there's not any of us doing radio and TV. One of the strategies that we've really leaned into is live events. In Michigan, you're allowed to have a what's called like a temporary cannabis event, where in essence, and we got one coming up in April called Reggae on the River,
Okay.
where we're going to have a big
That's
concert.
good about
And
reggae on the river.
and here, right, like it's right after 420. It's gonna be sweet, man. It's my college town too. I'm actually pretty pumped about it.
Oh,
So,
nice.
so Reggae in
What
the River
weekend is
is
this?
what's that?
I'm sorry. Can you remind me what weekend this is? The
What that
reggae on the
is
river.
April the 26th in Ypsilanti, Michigan, in Riverside Park.
Okay.
Reggae on the River. We're gonna have a ton of reggae artists out there all day long. And what makes this unique is that this is a sanctioned, licensed cannabis event in the state of Michigan. What's that mean? You can buy weed and smoke weed there in
Oh,
the
shit.
open, doing your thing. That's what it's all about. Boom. Um,
Wait, say that again.
at the event, at the
Uh huh.
concert, outdoor event, you can buy and smoke weed at the event. There are
Wow.
multiple vendors set up. So it's literally a cannabis event.
That's
So
fucking amazing. You don't have to give away your product. You can sell your product at your event on the fucking riverfront with some of the biggest reggae artists in the world. That is
yeah,
amazing.
it's super cool. All right. So so we've leaned into promoting and producing these types of live events. And now this particular event is brought to you by Float. They are a marijuana event organizer here in the state of Michigan that we've done a number of events with. But our strategy on live events for advertising is really twofold. One, it's these cannabis events where we can interact and we can sell, and then the other are what we call non-cannabis events, which is really more of a branding play. What we try to do is determine what are the largest outdoor festivals in the state of Michigan. And in Michigan, the baddest festival on the street is Arts Beats and Eats. It's over Labor Day weekend, and what's it about? It's about art, food, and music, right? Arts Beats and
Ice
Eats.
beats and eats.
So they
Nice.
bring about 500,000 people through over 3 days, 3, 4 days on Labor Day weekend to
Wow.
a town in Metro Detroit, and there's foods, music, all this good stuff.
Huge
We
for businesses.
Yeah, we made a big buy and bought a long-term exclusive cannabis partnership with Arts Beats and Eats. We cannot sell at this event yet, but we are branding. We bought a huge shipping container trailer. And it's all decked out and branded. You go upstairs VIP and check it all out and shit. Dude, it's so dope. Yeah, I'll send you some pictures, man, because I got your text. It's sick.
I can't wait to
Um,
see it, man.
but we're trying to lean into where are people going to have a good time? We want House of Dank to be there. And it's just that simple, you know what I mean? Because we think that there's a lot of green space in the market. You and I are in the industry, LaTosque. So when I ask you, hey, name 5 cannabis brands, you can rip them off, no problem, right?
Right.
But I think if we talk to just an average person on the street, they're not going to be able to rip off 5.
Right. They'll probably be able to name you, the top 2 or 3 dispensaries, but like different brands as far as they probably wouldn't be able to do that.
Who do you think's the number 1 brand, man? Talk to me, educate me. Like in your mind, when we're talking about like national cannabis, like we just talk about brands. Like who would you say that if we went around and polled 1,000 people that don't identify as like stoners like us, like what do you think they would be like? Yeah, that's the one they said the most.
Honestly, just from word of mouth and hearing about it, because I didn't even know that they were in this many places. But Curaleaf, Curaleaf is a huge brand in the industry, and I thought they were just big out here in Arizona, and that they had some spots other places. But my cousin called me from DC, and then she was like, "Yeah, I was in there. I was down in Florida. I saw Curaleaf." And it was like, damn. I started looking into their market and everything. I think Curaleaf's a pretty big brand. Um,
Curaleaf, let's talk about that for a minute. They're actually the largest cannabis company in the world.
wow.
They're
See,
publicly
I didn't know
traded.
that. That
Yeah,
was yes.
they have almost 7,000 employees. I mean, they are genuinely, quote, corporate cannabis. And everybody slings that around as a bad word.
Yeah.
I think the Curaleaf people are really fantastic. Everyone that I've met with their team is passionate about the product and passionate about the process, and really trying to have a good time in rolling this out and facing the challenge. They face a little bit different challenges than some of us single state operators do. But we certainly have a lot of respect for Curaleaf and their team. But that's an interesting play. I asked that question to a lot of people. You're the first person to ever say Curaleaf, man.
Wow. I mean, I try to do a lot of market research as well. um, but with that
You
being
think
said,
cookies is one? Cookies would be my answer. If
I
somebody
think
tells me like what's the number 1, like what's the people that even if you don't know it, you know it. I would say it's cookies.
so. I want to say cookies, but
This keeps going out.
we need we need a cookies in Arizona. First off,
Do you guys have a store or the weed, or is it not there at all?
so they have a contract with Harvest, and they are provided through Harvest out here, Harvest or Truly. Um, but there's no cookie store in general. Like
Okay.
I'd prefer to go to a cookie store and be able to select through all of their options versus what a purchaser through a dispo would prefer. Because cookies does have some amazing strains. I got to go up to the burners on Haight and San Fran,
Hell yeah.
and I got to see their selection, and they had cereal milk. And it was like you're not getting that in other markets. But if they had a store there, then you'd be able to get that in the market and be able to buy cereal milk so you can have a medicated breakfast, you know, stuff like that.
They've got stores here in Michigan, but it's similar.
Right, they got one in Kalamazoo, don't they?
They do. They got one in Kalamazoo, and they got one actually about half a mile down from our 8 Mile store.
Okay.
And they, similar to how it sounds like they're doing in Arizona, they've partnered with a local operator, a public company called Gage. They just merged with Terra Ascend to operate and grow and fulfill. So Cookie seems to have that, what we call like an asset light model,
Yeah.
where they're licensing their brand out to a number of
Yeah,
different operators in different
their
states.
branding is so fucking dope. It's such a point. And that's why I was like, when you told me the name of your company, House of Dank, I was like, bruh, you already know that's the lifestyle.
It's a
People talk
lifestyle.
about weed, is it gas or is it dank? And people that's within people's upbringing. So that's a great play for y'all.
It speaks to you, right? Like even the first time you hear it, you just sort of it sticks with you. And that coming first full circle is why we are leaning so far into like live events and just trying to get our name out there. We think we can win the battle for your brain, just by repetition. You know what I mean? That I just, here in the state of Michigan, wherever you go, you can't get away from me. All right. Like I'm on the billboards, I'm at the concerts, I'm at sporting events. Like we are where you are, I'm going to be. And even if I can't sell to you, I'm trying to occupy that 6 inches, because once I'm there, once you learn who we are, when somebody asks you to name 5 cannabis companies, you will never forget ever. And I think that that's the race that we're on. And I think if you're launching like a soda company today, everybody can name 5 sodas. All right, so you've got a much harder battle to try to get into somebody's brain. But with weed, oh man, it's all brand new. Okay, like sky's the limit. There's nobody winning this race yet. I don't care if you're a little guy. I don't care if you're in Maine. I don't care if you're in California. I don't care if you're Curaleaf, the biggest company in the world. The winners haven't been decided yet, and I think that's what's so exciting. You know what I mean? When you really think
That
about it.
is beautiful, and that's tight that you all are focusing so much on live music. I wanted to ask, I mean, live events and everything, because I wanted to ask, are you all, what are the rules with cooking events, so like medicated cooking events?
Those would also fall under what would be termed a temporary marijuana event from a sanctions standpoint. But I'll be straight with you, okay? All the pop-ups that I've seen in Michigan that involve cannabis are not sanctioned, because they don't have to be sanctioned, if you will. You get kind of weird if a licensed entity like myself is promoting or supplying or selling the tickets, then it would have to go through that official regulation. But look, we're a legal state, all right? Like if you want to have me over to your house, all right, and you want to serve me dinner, and tonight's menu includes cannabis infused food, okay, you know what I mean? And if you are, and how hot pop ups are right now. I love going to that shit, right? So if and we've seen them here where you can buy tickets and it's $60, and they'll email you the location that day, and then you show up and it's a 5 course cannabis meal.
Yeah,
So those are already out there in the marketplace, and I think that they're actually best served as unlicensed events, particularly in adult use states. I think that there is an end to the commercialization of weed. I think we have to be careful with that a little bit. We as operators. I mean, look, I've been smoking weed every day for 20 some years, way before it was on CNBC, way before it was cool. Well, it was probably always cool, but certainly not legal. But you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Um, I think you got to respect it still. You know what I mean? And I think that, if people want to cook with it, I would rather go to an environment like that and enjoy it for what it is and a new experience. Because I think that's one of the really next level innovations that we're going to take with this product, is really get into some fancy, cool food. Everybody's got a gummy. All right. I think we're good on that. You know what I mean? I want to see next level.
Different styles and everything like that.
Yeah.
And that's what actually drove me to create the cookbooks that I created, was because I going into the dispos and you see the same shit and it's like, all right, man, I don't want a brownie, I don't want a cookie. And so I started just cooking different recipes. And I was like, wow, this actually works. Of course it works. You're cooking with oil or butter
Yeah.
most of the time. So, just you can substitute, but, just being careful with how potent your oils and everything are, because you don't want to get people too stoned when you cooking for everybody.
And I think that there's this stigma, and I think that people are slowly figuring it out. You know what I mean? Like I think we're on a long run on cannabis infused, cuisine, if you will. You know what I mean? I think there's the snacks and the edibles. I don't mean that, and I know you feel me on this, right? But I think this is a 5 to 10 year timeline in my head as we, get people used to cannabis being, just a part of their regular social life. You know what I mean? Like alcohol. You don't have to necessarily be a heavy drinker. You can be a social drinker, but it's around you. You go to a Christmas party and it doesn't phase you, right?
Yeah,
As we
it's
get
it's
further and further along, people will start experimenting with food, and sooner or later, you're gonna see that breakout star. You know what I mean? Who is going to have that restaurant in Vegas or wherever else where people go because it's like, holy shit, what this person is doing with food and cannabis, nobody's doing in the world, and they're gonna take it to the next level. You know what I mean? But I think we're just a few years away from that from an innovation standpoint. Right now, a lot of these companies, they're consumer packaged goods companies, man. Like they've got to put out product, and that means gummies and brownies and these infused nerds or whatever else it is, just to get them out into the marketplace. I just don't think we're there yet.
to get their brand out in my
Yeah.
opinions. So
And to capture, I think you can't tell the consumer what they should have, right? And this goes back to like respecting the product and the consumer. You got to listen to the consumer. They're going to tell you what they want. And then you have an obligation as a retailer and as a cultivator and processor in this industry to listen and deliver that back to the consumer. And right now, as these consumers are getting educated, they're still learning about terp profiles. They're still learning that, THC percentage is not the end all be all, that, like I've gotten high as fuck off of 17% weed. And then at 30 where it's like, this is trash.
with some Blue Dream that's testing at like 15.
Yes.
Or I've had some low testing plants that have definitely gotten the job done because
100%.
the overall terpene profile, once all everything is added all up, it equals a good time.
No, and people have to learn that you're in the industry. You know what I mean? So you're more apt to be able to try a lot of stuff. But like, look, a lot of people, take their hard-earned money, they go into the store, you know what I mean? And like, look, I don't blame them. They want to get bang for their buck. They're gonna buy an eighth, maybe they got $30, maybe they got $60. They just want to make sure that they're getting the most bang for their buck ultimately. You know what I mean? So I don't fault the consumer. And again, this is, I think, is the evolution of the industry and the consumer evolving together. Right now, you talked about cookies. Here we talk about cookies or even Curaleaf as these being these massive brands. It's very tough to talk about consistency in product. Cookies, cereal milk grown and that you smoked in California is vastly different than cookies, cereal milk that you would find in Michigan.
1,000%. Because guess what? I've smoked some sun grown from Cali that shitted on hydro, like grows out in other places.
100%.
It's crazy, and it's all up to the grower and how much they invest in their plant, their material, and how well they take care of everything.
But
Um,
part of it is the again this maturation of manufacturing, and I know nobody likes to talk this way in cannabis, but we have to be honest about it. All right, we're talking about a global industry that may ultimately be a $500 billion. Okay, like there's going to be manufacturing, and so this transition from growers to quote manufacturers, there is no industry in the world. When I go and buy Lay's potato chips, be they in California or Michigan, and they're made in different facilities, it's the same. They got their standard operating procedures down. They've got all of their processes and checks and balances so that they can build out this consistent product and put it everywhere. We're just not there yet, and weed has the added wrinkle of humidity and average outdoor temperature and indoor temperature. And, like growing in Arizona is a hell of a lot different than growing in Michigan in July. I can promise you that.
I'll
Right.
say another thing that helps those companies and hurt others is that legalization on a federal level. So Lay's and all these other companies, they could mass produce in other states and then ship off, which is something that once federal legalization happens, we'll be able to do that. You're going to see fields in cities of just weed growing in Cali so they could ship it off, and we're
Is
going to be
that good or
smoking
bad,
California
though?
grown. You say what?
Is that good or bad? What do you think?
I think that it's going to be good because I've seen what competition does to markets. and I've seen that it forces people to get real creative and or deliver actually good product. Like you just said, other in Ohio, a lot of people are stuck with the material that they are stuck with because there's a limited number on the licenses. Now imagine if they had an outside company that could provide that quality flower, and that would force local companies to up their game up.
I don't disagree. Here in Michigan, we are an unlimited license state, so it's hyper competitive.
Mm.
There are, actually, I think 100 more grows licensed in the state than there are stores. So there is a
Wow.
lot of product, a lot of pressure on pricing.
So what is the average eighth run about there out there?
Boy, you can get Ace pretty cheap out here, man. I mean, I know here at HOD we're running specials right now on $50 ounces that are pretty smokable, man. Like not bad.
I
Yeah, I mean
saw
that's
that
that's
on the site. I thought
that's
it was
bottom
a wood,
shelf. All right, like I ain't gonna lie to you. You know what I mean?
but I mean, $50 an ounce. That's crazy.
I've smoked worse too. Okay, like I'm old. All right, like those VCR tapes you'd get in college, all like broken up. You got to break it up and shit, man. Like that. That was some bad weed. So like I've smoked worse than that. But there's certainly some downward pressure. But the point I'm trying to make is that we in Michigan it is a hyper competitive market. So quality and taste profile and innovation are what's driving us. And I think that's what makes Michigan companies a little stronger than a lot of companies that have existed in these limited license markets where they've got to stay in their own silo because I believe federalization will lead to shittier weed because I think that when you look at huge grows, I think you can't grow. I mean, that fire in a million square foot facility. I just don't think it's possible. All right. Like I don't think you can cure it and dry it and really really deliver at that kind of scale. So that troubles me a little bit. And I think that if you get to federal, I think you'll ultimately have large scale tobacco like companies with multi-million square foot facilities just
Harmful
commoditizing this
chemicals
and just
and
hammering it. Yeah. I like the sort of almost it's like going back to civics class and government class in like high school. I like the federalism aspect of the states having these own individual markets. And I like the idea of companies like myself, and this is obviously I'm a little self-interested. It allows companies like us to have some room to run and not get squashed by a huge national company that we can't compete with. It allows you to gain a following in your state and build some methods and build a brand and see if you can then travel and travel with that ultimately. So I think that it encourages innovation and entrepreneurialism as we try to find the best company that delivers that best product and best customer experience, as opposed to say, a huge company. If there was full federal legalization, I think the winners then would be the people that raised the most money the fastest because they would just build the biggest facilities and just blah, right?
so that was another question that I actually wanted to ask. When you mentioned national companies and everything, uh, you have a total of 8 facilities, correct?
That's correct. We have 12 facilities, 8 stores right now, and 4 to 5 more to come this year.
Okay. Now, are any of those going to be outside of the state of Michigan, or are you only focusing on the state of Michigan?
At this point, we're still focused solely on the state of Michigan, always looking for new opportunities. But we're trying to stick to our core competencies as they sit right now and continue to try to work as hard as we can. As someone has now got a sign on my door trying to make me laugh, and as you can tell, it's working. It's
Yeah,
working.
and
It says it
I know
says
that
Belgian investors. That's what the sign is reading. I think he thinks that I'm speaking to a series of Belgian bondholders trying to raise money. It's kind of an inside joke around here.
okay. I was about to say I thought it was probably their warning, your 5 minute warning, because I know you did say we going. I got a few questions that I got to get to before I let you go,
Dude,
but
you
this
got me.
conversation has been amazing.
You
And
got me for as long as you want me. I thought that I'm over here in Detroit time, and I had the calendar wrong because I got my own problems. I'm old,
okay,
and I thought it started at 11 p.m. Eastern, but man, it's only 9:30. So take your time, man. I'm having a great time. I'm
okay,
gonna spark up
perfect,
this joint. It keeps going out of me. I'm talking too much.
perfect. Um, what attributes does someone have to be successful in a position like yours?
I think the ability to to pivot from problem to problem really fast. You know what I mean? You can't get hung up on taking too long to make decisions, and you have to be willing to continually move to whatever is next. You know what I mean? Ultimately, I'm a problem solver, and the further you move up in life, if that's what you do for a living is solve problems, the harder the problems get. So you have to be ready to dive in and take accountability and act quickly.
Huh. All right. And I I gotta go back. I did mention Curaleaf. That's because of how massive of a following they got. But I've out here in Arizona, the Mint is one of the best dispensaries out. They got one of the only cannabis kitchens in the country. So I'd be a fool if I didn't mention that spot.
Oh yeah.
It's a dope spot and the food's very fucking good.
When we were down there for only for a couple of days, and I wasn't able to get a chance to get over there. But when we were walking around, because we always look for like, what's the hot spot in a town? You know what I mean? What's that local spot? Like we don't always want to roll to, the MSO type spot. And,
Yeah,
literally everybody we spoke to while we were out there was talking about the Mint. That, when we were asking for like, what's the real spot? You know what I mean? That was where everybody said. So I got to agree with you. While I haven't heard of them out here in Detroit, they were, impossible to ignore in their own market. That's for sure.
yeah. They definitely so they have a location in Kalamazoo and a location in Monroe and Coldwater.
They're coming to Michigan.
They're they're in Michigan. Actually, Monroe just opened up March 11th, so they are out in Michigan. That's tight.
I'm gonna
Um,
check them out,
they
dude. I didn't know. I'm
also
gonna
have
check
a
them
fruit
out. Here, I
stand.
thought I knew everything.
Yeah, definitely stop by one of those locations if you get a chance.
Are they doing the kitchen up here too, dude?
Um, Not that I know of.
I didn't think so either. I'd have heard of that for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I got to interview one of the owners on the podcast at the Earl Cup a couple weekends ago. I got to interview. Um, I got to interview Twister as well.
Were they? Are they with the Jars guys? Because Jars is in both states for sure.
All right, hello.
No, I'm here. I wanted to know if Mint is in any way with the Jars guys, because I know Jars is in Michigan and they've got a pretty big Arizona presence as well, right?
No, it's a they're I believe they're competition.
Jar. Okay.
Competition. Yeah, Mint and Jars are separate entities.
Okay.
Um, so let's see. Speaking of competition, what do you think about your competition and their products in the Michigan market?
Michigan, I think, has the best products in the whole country. Maybe only second to California. The licensing and the competition out here is really fierce at every level. The pricing is fantastic. The volume of products that you can get in Michigan is what's really unique. You know what I mean? Like we've now been, legal on the caregiver side since '08, medical since 16, adult use since 18, with the first store in 19. So we're 3, 4 years out, and you're starting to see that with a variety of drinks, a variety of different edible products, a variety of tinctures. And I'm telling you, like, I don't think that there is a deeper roster of genetics and flower anywhere in the world than in Michigan right now. I really don't. I mean, we've just been in the game too long on that caregiver side. This state has a really long, rich history with marijuana. And there's not a doubt in my mind that I think that the competition here is as good as anywhere in the world, frankly. And we got stiff competition that I have a lot of respect for. There's a lot of good companies out there. I'm not gonna rip off the list here for you. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to give them too much of a head. But we are blessed to be able to compete with a lot of great companies that some we're friendly with, some it's a little bit more hardcore competition. But I think all in all, the cannabis community in Michigan is in really good hands for sure.
That's good because I think that within the cannabis industry, it needs to be less competition because at the end of the day, we all out here to help the same people, you know?
Agreed. Agreed.
So we all need to be having that same mindset. It's like, sure, like you might not see eye to eye with certain people, but if we all actually out here to provide the best medicine at the best affordable cost for the patients, and those, even if they are out there to turn profit, you know, just don't price gouge the people, and provide some quality medicine for a good price.
I agree. And I think, the price gouging you see in the national marketplace is exclusively in limited license states. All right. Like, I mean, you look at Illinois, we do a lot of business in the state of Michigan from men and women driving over from Chicago and Illinois because
Yeah.
Illinois, I mean, a gram cart's going for like 75, $80 of
Hmm.
distillate, dude. That's disgusting. All right. Michigan is so competitive that you come out here and depending on on the brand you might buy, but you're going to be able to run specials 5 for $100. All right, and on 1 gram distillate carts, and we're talking name brand like Platinum Vape, MKX, good stuff.
Yeah.
So the price gouging you see is largely from MSOs and in limited license states. And that creates a negative customer experience. It just does. Look, there's nothing wrong with seeking profit. All right, like we're in business. That's okay. Like, but there's an ethical way to do it. You know what I mean? In a respectful way to your consumers, to your product, to your employees, and that's certainly what we're trying to embody. And I think that that's what the cannabis industry should really strive for in total.
So, what's your favorite thing about being in this cannabis industry?
The youth and the growth, man, and the people. I mean, come on. I mean, I've been smoking weed every day since I was 20 years old. I'm in my mid 40s, and to think, back when I was in college and then later law school, and you sit around with your buddies, and you always, maybe one day it'll be legal, and then to be here now and to be surrounded by so many smart people that have themselves had to come out of the shadows a little bit because they've been self-medicating for so long to get themselves through and are still high achievers. There's no doubt it's the people. You know what I mean? Whether I'm in Arizona and randomly running into people like you, or when I'm at MJ BizCon in Las Vegas or in and around Michigan, it's amazing. You almost, sometimes you listen to like an NBA player or, an athlete or whatnot, and they talk about how, this basketball got them around the world. Right.
Hmm.
And that's how I look at cannabis right now. I mean, cannabis has taken me around the country and it's gotten me introduced to so many great people that I would never have met without cannabis. And in a world that's all digital, this isn't, you know what I mean? You can't smoke a joint with somebody online. And we are right now, but you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like there is something about it, and it's what's drawn me to it for 20 years. And it's what I think still draws people to it to this day and going forward, how communal it is.
That's beautiful. Um, because this is such an amazing plant, and like you said, what are the odds? You know that we would meet here in this lounge and sit here and have this conversation a month later about a random conver.
Right?
It was it's the universe, man.
Now, do you drink much?
I do.
I'm not trying to put you on the
I
spot,
drink
dog.
tequila. I was about to say no, but then I do.
Yeah. I'm not much of a drinker, so
Yeah.
that was always something that growing up and not when I was a kid, obviously, but as a young adult and young professional, when people would go out for happy hour and drink, I'd be always doing like one hitters, in the alley, and then go back in the bar and like have some water or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is nice, for me, and I think a lot of people are feeling like to be able to just be themselves, you know what I mean? Like and see what they've already been doing and be able to just not necessarily have to like hide it. I know for me it's been amazing, with my mom, you know what I mean? She was,
Yeah.
not somebody we had almost had like a don't ask, don't tell policy for a long time about cannabis in the house, you know what I'm saying? Um, and now I buy her gummies, I pick up tinctures for her, you know what I mean? Like, she definitely doesn't want me like rolling up a 2 gram in front of her at Christmas. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but the idea that it's so open now and, we can sit on the back deck and I can smoke a joint while, she and my stepdad are having some wine. Like I couldn't do that 5 years ago. And that's what legalization in this industry has done for me on a personal level is kind of brought that back in a little bit to my life. And I think a lot of people are telling stories like that.
Yeah, that's that's tight because that's one thing I was. That's another question I was going to ask is like, how has cannabis affected your life?
Oh, I think in a ton of ways. You know what I mean? It's a funny story. The first bag I ever bought was an ounce, and it was shit weed. Don't get me wrong, but I was young. I was 20, and from the moment I tried it, I felt just at peace a little bit for once. You know what I mean? Like I'm certainly somebody with a mind that is constantly racing, and from a very young age, as a young adult, this is what brought me some peace and allowed me to build a foundation and allowed me, I've been through college and law school and worked at, huge law firms. And now I'm in this cannabis space with this amazing company. And all of that has been, I think, because I've been able to keep my mind quiet and be able to focus, which, I haven't ever used prescription drugs to do any of that stuff. It's always been this holistic, natural approach through cannabis. So cannabis has been huge to me and would have been huge to me, way before this industry even mattered, frankly.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite cannabis strain?
It changes all the time. You know what, man? I'm in a very lucky position. Okay, like we ourselves have nearly 2,000 of flowering lights over 3 different facilities. And a number of different genetic and licensing deals with some California genetic brands like Seed Junkie. So I get to taste a lot of stuff, is what I'm
I was
getting
about
at,
to say
man. All right.
on that
Um,
palette.
yeah. So it depends. I mean, look, okay, straight up, you can never go wrong with like a super pure runs. We have the
With
best.
the who?
It's a super pure runs.
Oh,
We do
okay.
that under pressure pack. It's just it never lets you down. All right. My latest one right now, man, there is some apple fritter floating around Michigan. If you get the right grow, like man,
Hear so much about this strain.
dude,
Keep hearing so much about this strain. Apple fritter. You heard of apple fritter yet? Yeah. Have you tried it? You tried it? Is it gas? They saying it's gas in the lounge. They
it
saying it's gas.
100%, man.
Cannabis champion just vouched for apple fritter, so I'm definitely gonna have to try it out.
And then the last one I'll throw at you is something called Emergency. It's one of the Sea Junkie lines, and Jay Busy is just
Are you
ridiculous.
serious? Like
Yeah,
the packet emergency?
yeah, kind of, but not right. Like, but that's how it's. Yes,
Yeah,
I want to get the trademark shit going. You know what I mean?
oh,
So like,
shit.
it's words, right?
You're right.
Right.
It's gonna get you right though.
It's emergency, and like I'm telling you what, you get a little bit of spring in your step. It's a hybrid naturally because it's an exotic. But again,
Yeah.
JBZ out of Seed Junkie. I mean, the guy's a fucking genius. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I don't think there's a better breeder in the world than what's coming out of their nursery and their farms, and we're blessed to be able to work with them. But this is one of theirs, and I'm telling you, if you get a chance to get some Seed Junkie emergency in your life, you open it up. I'm telling you, you open that bag, and like people 2 cars over, like they know what's up. All right, like like it's so loud, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
What's your favorite way to medicate?
What 100%. It's twisting one up and smoking a joint, old school. Now look, when I'm going about my day and got my business life going, you know what I mean. I'm more like I'll hit a distillate card just to sort of keep me on my right levels. You know what I'm saying? But no doubt, no question about it. Like I'm old school, mid 40s guy. Like I got my zigzags, I got my roller, I twist them up, and like that's how I like to enjoy it.
Okay. Um, you got a crazy smoking story.
Do I have a crazy smoking story? I mean, gosh, I suppose if they're all like me getting in trouble from smoking ice more than anything. You know what I mean? Like, I think I was on in
All right.
early.
So what's the craziest way you've gotten in trouble from smoking?
I think that I'm gonna go with the most fun. Okay, I've been to jail for this shit, so like you know what I mean. Like I caught a charge smoking weed in a parking lot once. We're not gonna get into that. But I would say that I was out very early with a woman who would eventually become my wife, and very Christian, old school, like West Michigan family. Okay, dude, I've been a stoner for a long time. All right, like, and so
Right.
like, So we are bowling. I am with my in-laws and I'm straight up, I'm pookied out, dude. Like I gotta hit the 1-8. All right. Like it's been hours. Like I can't deal with this shit right now. So I straight up went into this bowling alley bathroom and I took this one bat. And man, the moment I opened that door, fucking dude was standing right there. And he just started dying laughing at me. He didn't sell me out though, okay? Like he did not sell me out. He
Yeah.
did not tell my in-laws. My girl, if she's watching now, it's the first time she's ever heard this story. I promise you that. But that was the one that I think, thinking back, still sits with me the most. And that was, what, almost 25 years ago, man.
Wow. Huh. That's hilarious as shit. Uh, what are you looking forward to in the next 10 years?
Oh man, so much. Obviously, continuing to work here at HOD and in this industry and watch it grow and affect more lives. Particularly people like you, people like me, and watching, the young people that are getting into this industry now. Watching them sort of grow and see where they take it. Because
Okay.
I think that that's what is really next. Is that we're pioneers still a little bit in this. The real innovators, the real game changers are still like kids. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that when we talk about the next 10 years, the next 20 years, I think that's the stuff that I most look forward to, at least professionally. I think personally, long term, I look forward to spending more time with my family like anybody else. You know what I mean? Maybe working a little bit less hard. I mean, here it is. It's almost 10 o'clock on a Monday night. I'm still rocking it in the office, having a good time.
Right. And I appreciate you for doing that, man. I definitely I know it's a crazy time difference, and you definitely you came through with this beautiful interview, man. This has been a dope time to sit down. I got a few more questions that are rapid fire. You just say the first
That's
thing to
good.
come to your mind. And if you had a magic stick, what are three things that you would change about the world?
Whew, boy, less poverty, less wealth inequality. Um, and boy, I just try to get people to smile a little bit more at each other.
Okay. Um, who are your role models?
Mom, first and foremost, you know what I mean? Single mom who would fucking do anything for us at any time. I didn't grow up with shit, and what I did have was owed completely to her. We don't always see eye to eye, even to this day, but I wouldn't be anywhere without her, that's for sure.
Okay. What do you value most in a friendship or business relationship?
Transparency and good faith. I guess that boils down to honesty, but I think though that's really where it's got to come from. You know what I mean? That if you're honest with one another and acting from good faith, like everything else will take care of itself.
Okay. Where do you want to visit most?
Amsterdam, man. Never been. All right, like like the real the OG of legal cannabis. Okay, like, and I know that maybe that's too cannabis centric of an answer, but there you go.
All right. Let's see. What do you consider your greatest achievement?
Oh boy, my greatest achievement. Gosh, I think that I'm probably living it right now. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I feel like I'm living the first line of my obituary every single day here. You know what I mean? Just trying to see what we can do in this industry. Blessed to be in it, man. No doubt about that.
Definitely. Definitely. Um, what's your most treasured possession?
Oh, my old BMW wagon with a fucking manual. You will
Okay.
pry that from my dead cold hands, dude. No
What
question
year is that?
about it.
Is it pre-90s?
What? It's a 2009 535 wagon. It's got a stick shift. They only brought 290 into the country with a stick shift on
Wow.
it. Okay, look, I ain't rich, so like I couldn't
Yeah.
even afford this shit. I had to get one with a busted title just so I could have one. Okay,
Damn.
it's dope, dude. I love that fucking car.
But you
I will
got
never,
it. It was one of your dream whips.
100%. I'm a wagon guy, man. I love wagons. It's got stick shifts, a turbo. It's dope.
Nice. What's your life motto?
My life motto: respect and power include, man. Anything you want in life, respect and power include. You're gonna get it.
Respect, empower, include. Some great words of advice for those out there. Respect, empower, and include. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
It was an old lawyer once told me that the best decisions you make are when you don't get involved in a problem. Sometimes you got to make the decision to stay away, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Like you can't solve everything every time. So I think that the best advice I got ultimately was that it's okay to not try to save them all.
All right, and this one last one. Actually, I lied. Two more.
Hell yeah.
If you spend 24 hours with anybody, well, no, if you could spend 24 hours with anybody, getting high with them, dead and alive, who are you spending that time with?
But if I had 24 hours to smoke weed with anybody, dead or alive, right? Probably John Lennon, um, Bob Marley. I think those would be probably the top two on the list. You
John
know,
Lennon and Bob Marley.
can you imagine the tunes you'd be listening to, dude? That'd be a hell of a fucking circle. Okay,
Jeez. The jam session that would happen right there.
that's what I'm talking about,
Jeez, I would have to be in on that smoke session right there.
man. You're in, man. You got an
What about
invite, dude.
alive? Alive. Who you got to pick somebody
Alive.
alive.
Boy, I got to come up with somebody alive that I would want to smoke weed with immediately. Um, I'm gonna go with Snoop because and I'm gonna go with the another icon. I think I'm gonna go Willie Nelson.
Mm.
Just to
Snoop does reggae.
what? Snoop does
Snoop does
everything, right? Like he does Corona commercials, he does
reggae.
Olympics. I mean, that man is like a media
Reggae on the
force.
river.
You know,
Snoop.
I don't think I can
Snoop
afford him,
Lion.
man. I'm gonna be straight with you. I don't have that kind of budget. Okay, like
I feel you. I feel you. Hey, we got to put it out there in the universe. You never know. He might see this interview and be like, you know what? Let me bless nephew.
Snoop, come on out to House of Dank, man. We'll treat you right.
Yes, sir. Um, One last question is, what's a goal you hope to achieve within the next year?
Goal I hope to achieve within the next year.
Yes, sir.
Oh man, I hope to shoot the best golf score of my life and break 80. Sounds
Hey,
terrible, but man, come on, that's a 1 year goal.
hey, there you go. That's it. Right there. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike, thank you for coming on the podcast. This has been an amazing episode of Cannabis and Coffee with LaTosque, featuring Mike Delara of House of Dank. If you are in Michigan and you see that HOD, make sure you go and cop some tree.
Hell yeah.
House of Dank. Shout out to you, Mike. It was a pleasure smoking you out here. Whenever you come back out, let me know, and I'm definitely gonna hit your line whenever I'm out in Michigan, because I need to stop by the spot and get some of that flower that y'all growing out there, because definitely looks dank, and obviously I know you got a real good taste in weed after our not only our smoke session, but after our conversation today. I know that you're a cannabis connoisseur like myself.
Oh yeah, we'll treat you right, man. Come on out here, bring the gear. Let's take your podcast on the road, okay? Like we'll
Yes,
get you
sir.
we'll get you into the studio we got up here, and we'll get you some Detroit flavor out.
Hell yeah, I'm definitely down for that, man. I'm gonna have to hit you up because I'm gonna look at their reggae on the river. That might be the move right there. Might come out for that.
Hit
So
us up, dude. Check the weather though, man. Don't come up if it's cold, okay? Like don't do that
I'll
to
come up.
yourself.
I thought it was at the end of April.
That could be cold, man. It's Michigan, dog.
Michigan, you're right. I've never. Jeez. All right, you're right. I'm gonna
LaTosque,
check it
thank
out.
you so much, man. You're the best, dude. You hit me up whenever you want. I'll come on, man. Like this was awesome. I appreciate you.
Hey man, I appreciate it. Please share it with your family and friends, and let everybody know that they are welcome. The cannabis industry, please bring them on. I love to sit down with them on the Cannabis and Coffee Talk show. That's what we're gonna do. That's what
Take it
we're
on the
gonna
road.
do. All right, man, Mike. I appreciate you. You have a great